Amorim won't fall for this. Roy Keane says manager Amorim should reject Garnacho'S apology letter amid Garnacho begging on his knees. In what has become one of the most talked about stories leading into the new Premier League season, the ongoing saga involving Manchester United's rising star Alejandro Garnacho and manager Ruben Amorim continues to dominate headlines. The recent fallout between the pair has sparked widespread debate across fan forums, television panels, and social media, with one voice rising above the rest: former Manchester United captain Roy Keane. Never one to mince words, Keane has made his position clear: Amorim should not accept Garnacho's apology at face value. The controversy erupted during Manchester United's triumphant campaign in the Premier League Summer Series. While the club impressed with strong performances and showcased its squad depth, Garnacho's conspicuous absence became a focal point. A player brimming with talent but allegedly short on discipline, Garnacho's situation highlights a deeper conversation about professionalism, responsibility, and the pressures faced by young footballers in the modern game. The spark: Garnacho's strained relationship with Amorim. Alejandro Garnacho, the 19-year-old Argentine winger, has long been heralded as one of the most exciting prospects in the Manchester United setup. Known for his explosive pace, flair on the ball, and fearlessness in one-on-one situations, he has shown glimpses of brilliance since breaking into the first team. However, sources within the club suggest that Garnacho's attitude has not always matched his talent. Under the stewardship of newly appointed manager Ruben Amorim, who arrived at Old Trafford with a reputation for building disciplined, dynamic squads, there has been a clear focus on creating a cohesive and professional team environment. Amorim, whose work at Sporting CP earned widespread acclaim for both tactical innovation and player development, brought with him a culture that prioritizes discipline, accountability, and unity. Reports indicate that Garnacho struggled to adapt to these new expectations. While his on-pitch abilities are not in doubt, his willingness to conform to Amorim's tactical requirements and code of conduct appears to have fallen short. Several insiders describe Garnacho as resistant to coaching instructions and at times aloof during training sessions. When the decision came to exclude him from the Summer Series squad, it was reportedly based not on performance but on attitude, a decision that sent a clear message to the rest of the team. A manager's gamble: discipline over talent. For Amorim, the choice to drop Garnacho was more than disciplinary, it was symbolic. By excluding one of the club's most promising players, he asserted his authority early in his tenure, sending a firm message that no individual is bigger than the collective. It was a gamble, but one that seems to have paid off in the short term. Manchester United went on to dominate the Summer Series, topping the table with a string of commanding performances from a squad that appeared both motivated and united. Amorim's decision reflects the managerial school of thought that values attitude and team ethos over raw talent. In an era when young stars often rise rapidly and are showered with praise, there is a growing concern that discipline and humility can sometimes be left behind. Amorim's stance suggests a long-term vision, a squad of players who are not only gifted but also mentally resilient and committed to the cause. The apology: genuine or a strategic play? In the wake of his exclusion, Garnacho reportedly issued a handwritten apology to Amorim, expressing regret for his behavior and a desire to make amends. According to club insiders, the letter was heartfelt, with Garnacho purportedly admitting fault and acknowledging the need to grow both as a professional and as a teammate. But not everyone is buying it. Roy Keane, one of the most respected and feared voices in football punditry, weighed in with a typically blunt assessment. "If I were Amorim, I wouldn't entertain that letter," Keane said during a televised segment. "Apologies are all well and good, but what matters is actions. Garnacho needs to show that he can learn from this and not just bow down in front of the manager. It's about consistent behavior, not just a moment of weakness." Keane's remarks sparked intense debate, with many echoing his sentiments. Football, especially at the elite level, is as much about professionalism as it is about skill. Apologies are easy to offer, but demonstrating genuine change requires time, maturity, and consistent behavior. Whether Garnacho's letter was a moment of clarity or a calculated attempt to get back into Amorim's good graces remains an open question. Inside the dressing room, divided loyalties. Sources close to the Manchester United dressing room suggest that the situation has caused some division within the squad. While many senior players reportedly support Amorim's firm stance, others, particularly younger teammates who identify with Garnacho's struggles, believe he should be given a second chance. This dynamic presents a challenge for Amorim. As a manager still in the early stages of establishing his authority at the club, he must strike a balance between enforcing discipline and maintaining harmony. Too soft, and he risks undermining his credibility. Too hard, and he could alienate some of the younger players who look to Garnacho as a peer and role model. Amorim has remained measured in his public responses. He has neither confirmed nor denied receipt of the apology, and his comments have remained focused on team performance and preparation for the upcoming season. Yet behind closed doors, a decision looms, one that could shape the trajectory of both the player and the manager. Garnacho at the crossroads, growth or regression. For Garnacho, the next steps are crucial. His potential is undeniable. With the right guidance and a renewed focus, he could develop into a star not only for Manchester United but for Argentina's national team. But if he fails to mature and continues to clash with authority, he risks squandering the immense promise that made him a standout in the academy. History is littered with talented players who failed to reach their peak due to attitude issues. Whether Garnacho becomes another cautionary tale or a redemption story depends largely on how he handles this adversity. At just 19, he has time, but time moves fast in football. In practical terms, a path back into the squad remains open, but it will not be handed to him. Amorim's track record suggests that any return would have to be earned, not negotiated. That means improved training habits, visible humility, and a demonstrated willingness to be coached. Garnacho will need to show, not tell, that he is ready to be a team player. The Roy Keane factor, a voice of harsh truths. Roy Keane's involvement in the conversation is no accident. As a former United captain who led by example and demanded the highest standards, his voice carries weight. His criticism of Garnacho may seem harsh, but it reflects a broader concern among former professionals about the modern football environment. Keane, like many of his generation, believes that young players are sometimes shielded from consequences, creating a false sense of invincibility. His call for Amorim to reject the apology isn't rooted in cynicism, it's rooted in the belief that only through genuine struggle can a player grow. In Keane's world, redemption is not granted, it's earned. The broader issue, youth development in the spotlight. This incident highlights larger systemic issues in elite football, particularly around how clubs handle the development of young talent. The transition from academy prodigy to first-team regular is fraught with challenges, pressure, fame, media scrutiny, and the need to adapt quickly to the rigors of senior football. Manchester United, like many top clubs, invests heavily in youth development. But no amount of technical training can replace the value of mentorship, maturity, and psychological support. Garnacho's case underscores the importance of these elements. His raw talent brought him to the cusp of stardom. Now, it is his attitude that will determine whether he crosses that threshold. What comes next? Amorim's defining test. Ruben Amorim's decision on how to handle Garnacho could be a defining moment in his tenure at Manchester United. By holding firm, he reinforces a culture of discipline and meritocracy. By showing leniency, he risks setting a precedent, but he also opens the door for a potentially transformative turnaround. The timing could not be more critical. With the Premier League season set to begin, squad unity and focus will be paramount. Amorim cannot afford internal distractions. Every player must be aligned with the team's goals, and that includes Garnacho, should he earn a second chance. Conclusion: a test of character for all involved. The Alejandro Garnacho saga is more than a story about one player's fall from grace, it is a litmus test for Manchester United's evolving culture under Ruben Amorim. It is a test of Garnacho's character, of Amorim's leadership, and of the club's ability to balance discipline with development. In the end, this episode may prove to be a turning point. Either Garnacho learns from the experience, matures, and fulfills his potential, or he risks being remembered not for his talent, but for what could have been. As Roy Keane said, actions, not apologies, will determine his fate. And as Amorim looks ahead, his next move will speak volumes about the standards he intends to uphold at Old Trafford. The spotlight now shifts to the pitch. Will Garnacho be part of the story, or just a footnote? The answer lies not in a letter, but in what comes next.